No, listen, it makes sense that younger millennials, Gen Z, might not feel as connected to 9/11 since they were either children, not yet born when that happened. There are, of course, millennials like me who were in college, who were, young adults at the time, who very much remember it, who were very much shaped by it, shaped not only our personal attitudes, but our understanding of America's role on the world stage. Talk us through the data. What did it reveal? What stood out to you?
So the data was done by a group called More in Common, which appropriately named for this poll because they found that we have more in common with each other than maybe we realize in some political conversations. Across Democratic and Republican lines, there was actually a lot of similarity on some of this. What should we never forget? Both Democrats and Republicans generally said we should never forget the first responder sacrifice. We should never forget the victims and families. But when we look at the generational splits, that's where we start to see some real split. We start to see a lot of nuance, in particular, the question of what are we supposed to never forget? 1 out of 5 Gen Zers said, I don't know, or nothing at all. And that tells us that they're just really disconnected from this major event in U.S. history.
Right. I wonder, were there other attitudes that popped out generationally that comported with that? Because I think there are some people who say, does that mean that there's a history lesson that's missing, or does it mean that the sort of ethos of what happened then is missing? Or does that mean that they're looking at that period of time through what is perhaps just a more critical lens?
We're talking about a lack of connection here. And of course, time does play a piece of this. Education may play a piece of it. But let's look back at one of these poll questions. What do you characterize post 9/11 as? And it's a period for many Americans, it's a period of unity, a period of patriotism. But younger Americans under the age of 40, much, much less likely to identify some of those positive characteristics and much more likely to identify in this poll this as a period of mistreatment of Muslims. They are much more likely to recognize that we had a lot of stigma in our country after 9/11. We had, of course, we know now, surveillance programs of Muslim minorities. So these younger generations, even though most Americans agreed on this point that there was mistreatment of Muslims, this poll revealed that younger generations were a lot more aware of that than maybe older Americans seem to be today.